how we respond to certain things. I mean, we can respond out of love instead of reacting out of anger. And so when we respond out of anger, what that does, it sets the kids up to like have to take sides. And one of the things, remember that parents are not divorcing the kids, they're divorcing each other. And they do not need to be messengers. They don't need to be bringing the message from one parent to the other. They don't need to be spies. You know, does your dad have a girlfriend? What's your mama doing? Is she going out to those bars with her girlfriends? Don't ask those questions as adults, because children do not need to be spies for the other parent. And children are not therapists. Children are children. I don't care what age they are. And like I said, even your adult children do not need to get in the middle of your divorce. This is between the two parents. And your children do not need to be your best friends. You do not need to be best friend and best buddy with your kids. Of course, be friendly. Of course, but divorced parents will have a tendency, you know, maybe they have 3 kids. They'll attach themselves to one of them. And, you know, they may use that child as a therapist, as a confidant, as their good buddy. That is damaging to the child. They do not need to be your best friend. You find best friends and let them have age-appropriate friends. They deserve to simply be children. They need to have the freedom to be children. And what a child needs is every child needs to know this is not your fault. Kids have a tendency, I don't care what age they are, kids have a tendency to think, I caused this. I caused my mom and dad's divorce. Maybe it was an acting out kid. That kid would be acting out whether there was a divorce or not. But a lot of times the kids will take it on, what did I do? You know, maybe I didn't make good enough grades. Maybe I didn't do this. Maybe I did. And kids will take that on. But it's essential to let your children know that it's not their fault. And also, children need to know that both parents love them. It's not a one-sided. You know, both parents, and the best gift you can give your child is don't force them to choose sides. Do not force them to choose sides. And encourage your children and provide a safety net for your children and let them know they're safe. You're not going anywhere, and hopefully the other parent's not going anywhere. And the best gift that you can give them is to let them know that they're going to continue to be cared for. They're going to continue. Children often secretly, like I said a while ago, believe that they caused the divorce. Reassure them repeatedly that they are not responsible for the divorce. Keep adult conflict away from children. They don't need to hear your problems. They don't need to hear you fussing and fighting. They don't, you know, and sometimes parents will say, well, I don't say so-and-so. I don't talk around the kids. But they'll get on that telephone and tell their best friend everything about the gory details of the divorce or whatever's happening. Those kids are in the room, or they're 2 rooms. They're listening. They are listening. Be careful of what you share with other people and make it be in private, because I'll tell you, when you're talking about their other parent, you're talking about half of them. You're talking about, and what children will do, they will take on those feelings that I'm bad, awful, and wrong because I'm just like my dad, or I'm just like my mother, and they'll take that on. And do not use kids as messengers. You know, maybe you have them one weekend where you tell your mother when you go back, blah, blah, blah. Don't do that. You know, build a rapport with your spouse. And I know there are some down and dirty divorces. I've worked with a lot of people with down and dirty divorces. And what I recommend for people is grow yourselves up. Grow up. You know, you've made a decision that you don't want to be married to the person that you're married to. Get yourself individual help. Get your children help. And if possible, get the whole family help. And it is possible for two parents to come together with the best interest of the children and do family work because they're always going to be a part of the family, regardless. Good morning, Nick. It's good to see you. Good to see you. They're going to be a part of the other parent from now on. I mean, that is how it is. But what they need to hear, like I said, every negative comment that a parent makes about the other one, your child takes it on because they are like they are half of their parent and they take that on. If their dad's bad, they're bad. If their mother's a screamer, they're a screamer. If their mother's, hollers and screams and cusses and does all that, the child will take that on. It'll be like it's if the other parent talks about the other one. Don't do that. Uphold. I want you to remember, for divorced parents, remember why you married that person in the first place. There is some good in the worst of us, and there's some bad in the best of us. So remember some of the good things about your children's other parent and uphold that other parent even when you don't agree with them. You know, you don't always have to agree, but those agreements need to be met outside, away from the children. You don't need to have those discussions in front of the kids. Y'all decide. You're the parents. And it is hard. It is probably one of the most difficult things that a family can go through. I'm going to say it's probably even harder than a death. And I'll tell you why. Because when a child loses a parent in death, they know that parent died loving them. When they lose a parent in divorce, and I'll say lose a parent, when that parent quits being active in their parenting with the child, that child takes it on. There's something wrong with them. And in what they make up, there's something wrong with them, and that, depending on the age, but the child will think they're not loved because there's something that they did. So keep, children need stability. They need to know that you're all going to be okay, regardless of or no matter what. You're going to be okay. And after the divorce, everything is is uncertain. You've never walked this path before. And maybe you fought in front of your kids before. If you did, that needs to stop. You do not need to bring, when you're divorced, you do not need to bring those arguments in front of the kids, because then they will be forced, or they feel like they're forced to take a side. So one of the things the children need and will benefit highly from is consistent routines. Children just thrive over routine. Now, they may fight it with tooth and toenail. I don't want to go to bed. It's still light outside or whatever. They fight against it. And they really are looking at you to uphold. They want to be parented. I work with people all the time. I was never parented. They never told me what to do. That's as bad as overparenting. Some overparent, and that's that hovering type of parent. Somewhere in the middle, there's going to be some healthy parents, but consistent routines. If you have visitation rights with your children, set a time that you're going to visit with them. Show up at the time that you made that commitment. And if you can't, you make, damn sure that they know it. Don't let it come from the other parent. Well, your dad's, one more time, he's not showing up or whatever. You let that father or that mother explain to that child why they're not showing up. So consistent routines, they need a regular bedtime. I've worked with a lot of different types of people that are divorced. In early divorce, pre-divorce, early divorce, middle divorce, late divorce, you name it. And two households are going to be different. The two parents need to come together and have both of your households as consistent as you can. The routine as consistent. If they go to bed at mom's house at 8:30, let that be at dad's house. Otherwise, well, dad lets us stay up till 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock. That's not parenting. That is trying to be their best bud. So regular bedtime is important. Family traditions. Just because the parents are divorced doesn't mean the traditions don't need to continue. Kids love traditions. Now, they might fight them, particularly when they get to be teenagers. But there's certain things. I'll tell you something that we do, and my grandson and other grandchildren are in their 20s and 30s. And at Thanksgiving, we don't always have the other grandchildren here because they've established their own homes. But my grandson, him and his wife will be, usually here for Thanksgiving unless they go to her folks. But nevertheless, I have done something for years when the kids were little. I don't know where I got it. But you read this little poem about Thanksgiving. And then you put out kernels of corn in little cups, and each one you go around and you pick up one of those kernels of corn, and you talk about what you're thankful for. It's just a simple exercise. But one year, I forgot to put them out, and Spencer wanted to know where they were. They love routine. They love traditions. They want to see that same angel on the top of the Christmas tree. Don't fight over the angel. Don't split her in two, to go on Dad's Christmas tree. Anyway, traditions. Kids love traditions. And in the divorce, you're going to have to start some new traditions. But they love family traditions. And this comes into their grandparents. And this is where the two parents need to come together and make the decision. Not the grandparents, not the kids. The two parents come together. So in order to come together, you've got to be civil with each other. You've got to be, you don't have to, you just have to treat them as kind as you would a stranger on the street or someone that came to your front door. Treat your former spouse with dignity and respect. That's what your kids are going to see. So another thing is predictable visitation schedule. I'm going to say that, have predictable visitation, and then keep your word to the best of your ability around those commitments. And it's okay at times not to be able to keep that commitment. And if you can't, be honest with the kids. Be honest with the kid. I've got this appointment. I've got to make it. I've got to make it. And this is when I will be able to see. Don't make that the norm. You know, if you've got a certain time to be with your children, they're expecting you to be there. So show up for your kids and be predictable in the visitation schedule. And because I'll tell you, children are vulnerable. And when you don't show up for visitation, they take it personal. You know, there is nothing on the face, there is no one on the face of the earth that's more self-centered than a child, a baby, a toddler, because all their needs come from outside themselves. I'll tell you what's more self-centered is teenagers. When you have teenagers, everything they think revolves around them. So you've got to handle that with clear expectations with, you know, you and your former partner. You do this, you keep those lines of communication going, not to revive that marriage or anything, but to parent your children. And if there is an absent parent through health, through addiction, and that happens. I mean, when people are in addiction, parenting comes at the bottom of the list. Bottom of the list. Don't talk about that parent that is knee-deep in addiction other than your mother loves you, your father loves you, and they're very ill. They are very ill. And that gives you an opening to explain what addiction is. They need to know because they have a high chance of becoming an addict themselves if they have a parent that's an addict. Educate them. Be honest with them to the point, but you don't have to give them all the down and dirty, you know, your dad's in jail, your dad's this, your mama's this, whatever, she's sleeping around. Don't do that. Talk about their addiction. Explain to them that when they don't show up for visitation, it's not because they don't love their children, it's because they are knee-deep in their addiction. And that will take, I mean, that'll be the top of their list regardless of or no matter what. And they'll start out, you know, oh, I'm excited to go see my kids. And then the nervousness comes in. Addicts are nervous type of people. And, you know, that low self-esteem will come in. And then they will make up all sorts of things about how they're not good enough for the kids and all this. And before the end of the day, before it's time to go see the kids, they'll start using the substance, and then they are not fit to be around their children. Do not let, if you've got an addict spouse, do not let that addict around your child when they're in the midst of the addiction. That is on you. Protect your children and tell them why dad can't show up or mom can't show up. Their illness has got a hold of them. It has nothing to do with the child. It has everything to do with the disease of addiction. Okay, I could talk about that for a long time. So, have clear expectations. And, you know, the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous is to have, for us to have our acceptance level higher than our expectations. And if you get your expectations way up here for that other parent and they don't need them, be gentle with the kids. Don't put that parent down because, like I said, when you put the parent down, you're putting down the kid. So structure creates security. Kids, they will fight it, but they long for structure. They want structure. And then it's fun to do something kind of out of the ordinary, you know. You don't always have to just, you know, do that straight and narrow. You know, maybe one Sunday morning, you get up, you decide it's just such a pretty day. We're not going to church today. We're going to go out, we're going to go on a hike, we're going to go on a picnic, we're going to go do this. We're going to skip church today. Make it a fun thing. And I'm not just saying church, it could be anything. But be spontaneous at times, because you're going to have to be pretty rigid over here in one way with visitation and all of that. So at times, be spontaneous with your kids and just, kind of break out and have a little fun. Do that often. Okay, listen more than you talk. Your kids have pretty much heard everything you have to say. And particularly if you're on the telephone telling your best friend how sorry their dad is or their mother is or whatever, don't do that. Do not, because you will say, parents will say, I do not talk to my kids about their father or their mother. And then the kids will say, but I know everything because I hear you on the telephone. And kids will listen in. They are nosy little creatures. They want to know what's going on, and they will listen. And then they make up all sorts of stuff. Because, see, they're just hearing your side of it. They're not hearing the other parent's side of it. So save those telephone calls to when the kids are not in the house, because they're very clever. And as much as they don't want to hear it, they want to hear it. They want to hear what's really going on with their parents. And kids love a good fight. I say they love a good fight. They don't, but they can get in there with you and talk about their other parent. Don't allow that. Don't do that, unless they want to come and talk to you about something, and then what you need to say. If they're talking, maybe they've been on a visitation and they come back to you and they're wanting to talk about put their dad down or their mother down or something. You'll say, your job is to say, wait, let's call them and get them to come over and let's talk about it with them here. What do you think about that? Don't talk about the other spouse and put them down. You can listen to your children, but don't join in. Do not join in. And so listen more than you talk. Children express pain differently. One child will act out, some will cry, some will become very angry. They'll be throwing fits. They'll, have some go inside and become very, very quiet. Some develop behavior problems. Instead of trying to fix every feeling, simply listen. Have a listening for your children. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have all the answers. Just have a listening. I hear you. And respond, trying to say, saying things. I can see this is really hard for you. I can see that this is really hard for you. Statements like that. Or tell me more. If you can get a kid to talk, particularly a teenager, have a listening. Don't have your eye on something else, that you're doing. Face it, eyeball to eyeball. I've told this little story before when my daughter Kim was about 8 years old. I was a busy mother. We had a blended family of 6 or 7 kids at any time. We had a bunch of kids. And a big old 2-story house, and I was a stay-at-home mom, and I was a spotless housekeeper, which I wouldn't do today if I had a bunch of kids. So I was busy. So she wanted to tell me a story. She wanted to talk to me. I was washing dishes. And I said, well, baby, just stand right here and tell Mother your story. And she said, but Mother, you're not looking at my eyes. Kids want you to stop what you're doing and look at them. Engage. Let them know that they're important enough for your time and attention. They yearn for that. And so tell them, tell me more. And then after they tell you, say, I'm really glad you told me. I'm glad you told me. You don't have to go through this alone. You don't. I'm here for you. Your brother's here, your dad, we're here for you. We're not divorcing you. we're divorcing each other. Feeling heard often heals more than receiving advice. And that goes for adults too. Most of us just want to be heard. You know, I hear you. I hear you. I see your pain. I hear your pain. I hear your anger. I see your anger. Let children, I've talked about this, but let children love both parents. One of the greatest gifts parents can give is their permission for their children to love the other parent. Uphold that parent. Do not talk bad about that parent to the children. And never make a child feel guilty for loving the other parent. Don't say, well, you don't really know him. If you knew him like I know him, you don't really know him. You wouldn't even, that is very inappropriate. Do not say those things to your children. Never make a child feel guilty. And a child, in our adult life, we have a choice about feelings. And as children, we can be made to feel a certain way. Those kids can be made to feel guilty. When they want to see a parent, or they are missing their parent, or they have a listening for them. Just have a listening. I hear that you're missing your dad. I hear you're missing your mom. And enjoy, support them, enjoying time with the other parent. One of the things that I've seen is a lot of times the father will wind up with more money than the wife does. I've seen this over and over. So when the father gets the kids, they become that Disneyland dad. They can take them here and there and buy them this and that. And it far outweighs what mom does. Mom's there keeping the home fires burning. Or the dad may be the stay-at-home dad. But this needs for people who do try to outshine the other parent. You're doing your kids an injustice for that. Just be there with your kids. They don't really care about, they'll act like they want to do this and that and buy me this and buy me that. You can't buy their love. You cannot. The best gift you could give them is have a listening for your kids. And another gift you can give them is loving the other parent, and then give them permission. It's okay to love your mom. And you don't have to say that, you'll say it in your actions by upholding the other parent. And it's okay for the child to miss the other parent. I see you're really missing your mom. I see it. And anything I can do, any way that I can help. And then when they're with the other parent, they're going to miss you. Love should not be divided. Love does not need to be divided. True love expands, it gets bigger. And you can love your former spouse and not even want to be married to them. You can continue to give them love, dignity, and respect. At least dignity and respect in front of your children. That's what you owe your children, is to treat their other parent with dignity, kindness, dignity, and respect. And another thing is manage your own emotions. Don't, if you're in early stages of the divorce, get you a good therapist, get you, a good mentor, get you someone to talk to and cry and scream and holler and do whatever that you need to do away from your children. But when you're around your children, manage your emotions. Manage it. Don't have those outbursts. If you do, immediately make amends to your kids. Dad's not perfect, and I just had me a little breakdown here, and talk to them about that. But don't make it a regular habit to have those outbursts in front of your children, particularly if it's about the other parent. Children need to look to parents to know whether life's going to be okay. They're looking at the parent. Is life going to be okay? Are we going to survive this? What will school look like? What will, they don't know. They don't know. They are in the dark. And they need you to, it's not about really normalizing. It's more about, this is the fact, your mom and I, or your dad and I, we love each other. And we've made a decision that it's not the kind of love that we want to stay together as a couple. But we love each other, and we love you kids, and we're going to be a united front for you children. And I would support you in not allowing them to put down the other parent. If they're going to put down the other parent, you get that other parent there. Just say, we need to have a session. Let's go to our therapist. Let's have your dad there, or your mother, and you tell them. But don't let them just badmouth the other parent, because you'll have a tendency to want to kind of join them. That's just human nature. It doesn't mean that you're going to pretend that everything's perfect. It's not. It's not. It's not pretending. It's about being honest and going and doing the hard stuff. This is the hard stuff. It means seeking support from friends, family, professionals, pastors, therapists. I've already said therapists, support groups. Get help for yourself. Get help for your children. Healing yourself is one of the greatest gifts that you can give your children, to heal yourself. And divorce is usually not one-sided, and when you start looking at fault and trying to place blame, you're wasting a lot of time. You're really wasting a lot of time because both parties, if you want to say, are at fault. What you've done, most parents, their expectations of that coupleship was much higher than their acceptance level. And they looked around, they loved that person. And they were going to spend their life with that person. But guess what? They didn't know that person very well. And so when they got married and then life started happening, whatever life looks like, and then here came the kids, and here came financial problems, and it takes a lot, and you can see, our divorce rate in the United States is very high. And what I tell people, unless there is one party that's beating up the other one, unless there's physical violence involved, what I tell a couple, because I've been divorced. Divorce needs to be the last thing. And what I tell people, encourage people to do, is stay with the one that brought you to the party. Learn how to dance with that one. When you get that Texas two-step down, or that waltz, or whatever, when you've learned to dance with that person, what that means is you look at yourself when you all start, when that coupleship starts falling apart. Take your eyes off of your partner and start looking at yourself and what you can mend. And then stay together and let divorce be the last thing. But the mending can start before the divorce ever happens. I've seen a lot of couples have better friendships in divorce than they ever did before, married. So, all right, what are the signs of children may be struggling? Some warning signs include failing grades. Pay attention. A lot of times parents get so stuck in their own feelings and their own, stuff. They don't pay attention to the kids' grades. Pay attention. Be involved in their school. Keep doing what you're doing. If you're a member of the Booster Club, continue to show up. If your spouse is a member, show up anyway. Show up for your kids. If they're playing sports, show up for them. And, the best thing, if you can stretch yourselves to do this, the best thing when you go to sporting good, or plays or whatever, try to sit together, unless you're at the point of wanting to hit each other, try to sit together. Let them see that they're still your parents. They're just choosing to not be a couple. Okay, so watch for kids failing grades, watch for isolation. When they start getting into that room and not coming out, you got a depressed kid usually. Look for anxiety. Look for that anxiety and the depression because it happens with children of divorced parents. Is that anxiety, depression, aggression, where they are carrying, children carry parents' feelings. And if you're not dealing with your own feelings, I'll tell you, your kids are going to carry it. And so if they get into aggression, they get into a lot of anger, they've picked up your unresolved feeling and they're carrying it, and they don't even know, and you don't know. But if you don't deal with it, they will carry your pain, your anger, your sadness, your depression. Children will start having trouble sleeping. Some of them, even teenagers, some of them will revert back to early childhood problems. They will become bedwetters again. This is kind of the extreme, but it happens. It happens. They'll have physical complaints. They'll have upset stomachs, or their joints will hurt. Yep, and it's real. They're not making it up because they've taken on the feelings of the divorce, and it can settle in to the very joints of kids, like it does with adults. Physical complaints, watch for substance abuse in adolescence. And when I say adolescence, I'm here to tell you, substance abuse is starting earlier and earlier and earlier. So, you watch your 8, 9, 10, 11, 12-year-old kids and who they run with, because they have a pain on the inside. And if they're around kids, and I've seen it in every economic level. You'd think, oh, it's just these kids that are, comes from poor families. They're usually not your users a lot of times. I'll tell you who you need to watch is kids that have the money to buy the stuff, Don't just think that your kids will not use drugs. Just do not think that. Be aware, and be able to intervene as early as you can. We're getting ready to open an adolescent unit for girls aged 13 to 17, and it's for substance abuse. They're out there. There's a lot of them out there, and they need to be given good treatment. Okay, watch for self-harm. Self-harm a lot of times doesn't show up because they'll cut places where it doesn't show. Look at, pay attention to their hands. A lot of times they'll take a pencil. I know I did. And if you look deep enough, I still have some lead in one of my hands. But kids will take sharp pencils and grind them into the palm of their hand because they feel so bad on the inside. That physical pain helps relieve the inside pain, the emotional pain. So watch, be aware, because they'll start cutting, they'll start scratching themselves. Not all of it, but be aware that self-harm, because what they're saying, do you notice me? Can you see my pain? Here is my pain. And they won't tell you until sometimes it'll get bad enough that they have to tell you. Self-harm is not about killing themselves. And a lot of them, I say a lot, some do accidentally kill themselves. They go too far in the cutting and they will get into a vein. And this is why you need to, get your head out of the sand and out of your own hurt and pain and know what's going on with your children. And this self-harm can be, it's a big deal because that's their way to feel. They don't know that they can feel the pain and hear the divorce. They cut themselves, they see the blood, and they realize, I'm still alive, I'm still alive. Talk to any self-harmer, what they get out of cutting, or scratching, or pimple, scratching their face, or there's a lot of ways to self-harm. Pulling out eyebrows, eyelashes, pulling out hair. Notice your kids if they're doing that. And so early intervention makes a tremendous difference. Notice your kids. And they are waiting for you to see. It's like, can you see me? Can you see me? I am hurting. Can you see me? And sometimes parents, particularly early in divorce, they're so wrapped up in their own stuff that they hardly notice the kids. And that's sad. So early intervention makes tremendous difference. I've already said that. Co-parent with, when possible. Successful co-parenting requires respect, not friendship. What does co-parenting look like? Co-parenting is you both have the school schedule, you both show up. You don't say, well, I'm not going because she's going to be there, or he'll be at that ball game. I'm not, get past yourselves and show up for the kids. That's going to be the greatest gift that you can give. And treat your former spouse with dignity and respect. And they might return it. They might not, but what your kids will see is how you treat their other parent. Communicate clearly. Don't beat around the bush when you're co-parenting. Sometimes you have to get it in writing. Well, this is what I said. Well, no, you didn't say that. Well, this is what I heard. Well, this is what I said. Get it in writing. Stay child-focused. And it is so easy to get back into your own hurt. Do not do that around your children. And it's not about that you're shielding them away. You need to shield them from some of the stuff that goes on with divorced parents. Stay child-focused, age-appropriate. And even teenagers, don't let them be your best bud. They do not need to be your best buddy. They need to be your teenage child. They do not need to be your best friend. You can be friendly with them, but they need age-appropriate friends. Ask yourself, what is best for my child? Not what's best for me. I'll give you another little thing, and this is my own personal soapbox. I see it over and over and over and over and over, and I am 1,000% against this. Do not let your kids start sleeping with you. That is one of the worst things that divorced parents can do. Just cuddle with their kids. Oh, I'm just going to cuddle with, let them come in on Saturday morning, watch the cartoons, lay in bed, watch a movie or something. Don't let them sleep with you. Because people do things in their half sleep, half awake, they'll turn and think they're reaching for, their partner that they're divorced from, but they'll reach for the kid. Don't let them sleep with you. Let them have their own beds. Honor their space. Honor your space. This is dad's bed. This is mom's bed. I'm really big on that. And I'll tell you why I'm big on that. Because my dad sexually abused me till I was 13 years of age. And I slept with him from the time I came home from the hospital. Now, not every night. But it was like mine and dad's room. and that I'd sleep with my sister's son. That is so damaging to a child. So, this is my soapbox. But don't let them sleep with you. It's not appropriate ever. If you need to, comfort your child, go and sit beside of them in their bed. Don't crawl up in the bed with them. I mean, I am totally against that. But if you have another point of view, you're free to look at it like that. Okay, stay child focused. Ask yourself what's best for my child. Not how do I win? How do I win in this divorce? How do I win? How do I get what I want? I'll tell you what, children will flourish when parents cooperate. So teach resilience. Children can grow through difficult experiences when they have caring adults. Let them see you go through pain, but let them see you go through it, not get stuck in it, and not, share it with them. They can see your pain. I mean, you don't have to hide everything from your kids, but do not make them your confidant. Help them learn healthy coping skills. Help them learn healthy problem solving. The best gift we can give our kids is teach them how to solve problems. And don't, a lot of times, and I see it all the time, where parents feel guilty for divorcing, so they try to make up for. And I'll tell you, if you want to see a spoiled brat, you get a kid that tells the parent what the parent's going to do, and that kid demands certain things, and the parent adheres to it. That is, you need to be arrested for it. Do not let the kid run the show. They don't want to. They really don't. And they will challenge you to the nth degree, and they will use that divorce against you, and they will tell you what you are going to do. You step up and be the parent. Discipline the kids. Discipline, what discipline is? It comes from the word disciple. Discipleship. A disciple leads. They lead and they shepherd. Your kids need shepherding, but they do not need to dictate what you as an adult are going to do. You are giving them the biggest disservice that they'll ever have if you give in to their every whim, and let the kids know that your needs matter. As an adult, your needs matter. And you're not going to, kids can suck parents dry through a divorce. Do y'all know that? And, it's hard for them to go through divorce, but continue to be parents. And if you could stand tall, a united front, with God, autonomous with the God of your, you over here standing tall, autonomous with the God of your understanding, and your former spouse standing next to you, in the parenting. If your kids could see that, God Almighty, that's the best gift you can give your kids, that they know that they're not going to be able to work, either one of you. They're not, because when you teach them, you throw a big enough fit, you're going to get your way. You're preparing them to throw fits when they get into their own situation, when they get to be, that's not the way to parent, nor is it the way to have a healthy relationship. Okay, resilience is not avoiding hardship. It's problem solving, healthy coping skills, emotional expression. Let them see the pain. Give them a chance to have their own pain. And also, forgiveness. Let them see you forgiving their other parent. Forgiveness is not forgetting. We're not going to ever forget what they've done or what we've done to them. Forgiveness is, I'm going to let it go. I'm letting it go. I'm not going to hold it against you, because when, the kids know that. So get into some forgiveness. And with that, what you're going to find is some hope. Resilience is not about avoiding hardship. It's not what happens to us, but how we go through it. And that takes maturity. That takes grown-ups. Don't reduce yourself to some, screaming kids at each other. Closing thoughts is divorce changes a family, but it does not have to destroy one. It'll change the family, but it does not have to destroy. And I'm talking about grown adult kids. I'll tell you, with grown adult kids, and this is my opinion, take what you can use, leave the rest. With grown adult children, that spouse, the spouses are the two most important people in that house. The kids hopefully are gone by then, they're grown-ups, and nothing or no one needs to divide those two parents. When you let that happen, you are doing yourselves and those adults a disservice. If they get crossways with your spouse, you uphold your spouse regardless of or no matter what. Because you're dealing with grown adults. Let them figure it out and love your spouse. Even if they're wrong, love them through it. And that's what your grown adult kids are going to see. Mom really does love him, or dad, he really supports his wife. They're not going to be ugly to you. They're going to just present that united front. And we are not going to let you come in and divide and conquer this relationship. Oh, and adult children will try to do that. They really will. So children remember less about the legal process and far more about how they felt. They're not going to remember all the money stuff and don't talk to them about it. That's not appropriate. But they will remember how they felt. And they will remember who comforted them. They will remember which parent was there for them. You bet they will know who stepped up for them. And both of you need to be stepping up. And they'll want to know who listened to them, who made them feel safe, who continue to show up. Just show up for your kids, regardless of or no matter what. Show up for your kids. As parents, we cannot erase away the hurt. You can't. And hurt, underneath the hurt is usually anger. Allow your kids to have the anger. Even teach them how to express anger. I'm angry, I have a right to be angry. Teach them how to express healthy anger. We can choose to be a source of stability, grace, and unconditional love. When children know that they are deeply loved by both parents, and are never placed in the middle of adult conflict, they have the incredible capacity to heal. As long as they're not put in the middle. Don't put them in the middle. Remember 3 simple principles. Love your children more than you dislike your spouse. Love your children more than you dislike your spouse. Protect your children from adult conflict, and never make your children choose between the 2 people that they love the most. That's what I have, and it sounds like I did a little preaching. And maybe I did. It's okay to get a divorce. It's how we do it. And it takes 2 healthy adults to go through a healthy divorce. And should let your children know you're not divorcing them. Neither one of you are divorcing them. You'll always be a family. It's going to look different. All right.